Hello, and welcome to Postcards from a Soul and Her Human. I'm the human Gina. Welcome, and thank you for joining me as always. I appreciate you very much. I believe we're all here for a purpose, and it's so interesting to remember that each time I do this and how um, enriching that feels. So, whoever is out there listening, I just want to tell you thank you, and I appreciate you being here with me very much. And I wanted to talk today about something that has been emerging. And I think that's the best way to put it. It has been an understanding or an awareness that has been emerging over the last, really over the last few months since I wrote about um, the dimensional reality shift that I experienced, and I did 2 episodes about it. And I've just felt this shift has just included so much more than I could ever really explain. It has enhanced my perception of energies that are around me. And this is something that I was told would happen. That when and I got to be careful with the language here. I'm not really sure if I am using common terminology incorrectly, but with this shift in dimensional energy, which is, I'll put it that way, I was told that I would have access to feel and sense energy around me that I did not perceive or feel before. And this is part of being more connected to the source energy or source consciousness in my own consciousness and awareness. And it all has to do with awareness, which is illumination, which is light, which is enlightenment. And it goes on and on and on. And it is, it's just an extraordinary thing to witness as an observer of what I'm going through, what I'm feeling. And I have been sensing incredible differences in my environment and my in every way. And I described this several times, maybe not identifying it as extrasensory perception, which is basically what it is. It is perceiving energy that I didn't perceive before. So I have an enhanced or an awakened ability to sense energy around me. And because of this, I sensed the dimensional shift, which I described as such. I sensed that I had a magnetic connection to my twin soul. That is, I described as an ethereal bridge between us. That is an energetic pull on my heart. These are the types of energies that I'm talking about. The sensory awareness of them now is undeniable. It is like a whole other universe has opened up for me, and it has allowed me to witness and then talk about everything that I'm feeling. And I know that's part of the design here, and the reason I'm on this microphone is to share everything. So I am sensing these energies and how they are intensifying and still intensifying. I mean, I wake up some days feeling like I'm late for an appointment. I like the anticipation in my cells is nearly constant now. It is a pulling or a calling that is that I used to feel the beginning back in April, May, when I started to feel this shift, that I used to think I was imagining. And now I have there's no way. I'm so far beyond doubting what I feel. And this is another element of this. Doubting what I feel is not a thing anymore. It's just not. The brain does not decide. The brain is an assistant. The brain has a very express purpose in the physical world, but the brain is assisting in assimilating and in contextualizing what I'm feeling. And of course, it allows for speech because I need my brain to speak. And in order for me to speak intelligently, I have to be able to contextualize what I'm feeling, which is is extraordinary. How the connection between the feeling in my brain expresses itself in words that honestly, until I speak them, I don't know what they are. And I think that's what channeling is. This is coming from my higher self and the beings around me who are guiding me, this understanding or this intelligence. And it's just extraordinary to sense everything that's happening, and it's continuing, and it's continuing to intensify. And when I talked about this, the 7:30 dream, pull the trigger, in the last episode, and how I knew that I was meant to take this trip, even though my logical mind, my pragmatic side, was saying, "What are you doing? This is not something you would normally do." Which of course made me understand, well, that's the reason why you had the dream, to tell you to pull the trigger. Otherwise, I would not have. And ever since then, I have felt it's just incredible. I'm going to be taking an airline ride, a plane ride, for the first time in a long time. And I, for a long time, had anxiety about flying. And I described this in earlier episodes. I don't know exactly when. I think the episode called Fear, where I had an anxiety attack on a plane several years ago when I was with my ex-husband. And I had never experienced anything like it before. And it imprinted on my on my body, and it made me fearful of flying. And well, the long time has passed, and I have a different feeling now about flying. I have this incredible trust that I will be okay. And what I mean is, I go through days still where I have what I call ascendee days, where I have ascension symptoms that are brought on by a storm, which is weather, or brought on by an energetic cycle like the eclipse or many other events. I believe I had another very big one when my granddaughter was born, with the energy that she brought in. Excuse me. And it is it has what has happened is, since I've been experiencing so many symptoms with this ascension, and a lot of them are exhaustion and a feeling of anxiety, which is not actually anxiety. It's a low grade static in my body, which is my body adjusting to the energetic changes, the transmutation of my energy. And I won't go into this again. I described this at length in other episodes, but I had to get to a point where I would leave my home and trust that I would be okay. Because I described a couple of events where I had to get myself home in hope that I made it, because I was having such an intense energetic reaction or symptom to what was happening to me. And again, these are described in earlier episodes, so I won't repeat them. But what has happened in the last several months is, when I have these more intense events, and they're nowhere near as intense these days as they were in the past, I just say to myself out loud, and to my tribe, my soul team, I say, listen, just make sure I have enough energy to take care of my granddaughter and be with my daughter. And when I get home, if I have to crash and burn, then I'm happy to do that. And I would wake up some mornings and I had to watch the baby, and I would not feel up to it at all. I would feel very drained and exhausted, and this low grade static. But I would get up and go get dressed, and I would leave. And by the time I got to my daughter's home, I was absolutely fine. And I would just say to myself, thank you, because I knew this was what I asked for, that I was fine while I was with her. I could handle everything. And when I got home, I would return to that exhaustive state. And that's what would happen. It still happens. So because I trust that, I also trust that this plane ride will be whatever is going to be, but I will be fine, whatever it is. So I've let go of any fear around that, which is really extraordinary in and of itself. But this whole plan, this whole trip that I'm going to be taking in October, in just over 2 months, has caused another level of anticipation. It is incredible how I feel like I'm going to the ball. And my fairy godmother or fairy god family, my soul tribe, are getting me ready, and that at this ball, something amazing is going to happen. And I have let go of any doubt in my body about what I feel. And I know that I'm meant to be at this conference in October. So anyway, back to the the perception of energies, and how this has really brought me to a place that I am sitting that is, I feel like, and forgive me and give me a moment to vocalize this, to put together the sentences that will make sense to you, because it still is such a broad concept to me, that is filtering down through my body into my mind, into my vocal cords, and allowing me to speak about it, because it is such a broad concept. This sensing of energies that are not perceptible, that were not perceptible to me in the lower frequencies. And I think that is a segue that I need, because I only have access to this perception because of my frequency, because of the vibration of my body, of my energetic and physical body, because the vibration is higher or faster. I have access to something that I didn't before. And this is what frequency is. It sets a tone. Sound is frequency. A sound can be so high pitched that it can't be perceived by the human ear. So this is what's happened to my body. It is beginning to vibrate, or has begun to vibrate at a rate or a frequency that now has opened up a portal of a new universe. And I'm not, I guess I shouldn't use the word new. It's always been there. It's always right there. This is what another dimension is. This is my understanding of a shift in dimension, that I'm still physically where I was before, on Mother Earth, in the suburban home that I live in the state that I'm in. But my perception is of a new dimensional reality. It is a universe that is surrounding all of us, that is imperceivable in the 3D frequency, the three-dimensional frequency, because we vibrate at a lower rate, slower, thereby we're too dense. And I'm not saying that to be insulting. We're physically too dense because of the lower vibrating body to perceive anything outside of the density that we're in. So, and again, this is so extraordinary. Please bear with me. So what I'm perceiving now is this energy which is pulling on me, and I can feel it. And I felt this since I recorded the episode back in April or May, called Co-Creation, Awakening of the Goddess DNA, and then the one after that, which was the dimensional reality shift, where I'm sensing that my cells are being pulled in the gravitational field of my future. And this future includes the centerpiece of my twin flame, John, from New Zealand. He is the centerpiece of my future. He is the person that I'm meant to share the rest of this life with, and journey and mission. So I'm perceiving all this energy. I'm perceiving this pull. I'm perceiving this new dimension, which is how I described it, even though I really didn't fully understand what I was saying. And this is, again, the body informing me through this channel of my intuition, through this solar plexus brain that's connected to my higher self, who is in another dimension, and then this universal dimension, which is, again, all around us, but not perceivable until we ascend or vibrate high enough to perceive it, and then to live within it, which is a whole nother thing. So this is so extraordinary. I feel like I'm speaking another language, but so I'm perceiving all of this newness and this incredible anticipation for what's coming, and this is also this new sensory access includes this. Oh my God! It has allowed me to drop doubt. And it's something that is, we have to understand that in the 3D community of this, in the 3D world, or the 3D construct, which is what I'm referring to it as. Oh my gosh, this is just so amazing. We cannot, we can't escape doubt. Doubt is woven into the tapestry of who we are. It is ingrained into our energy. It is the one thing that that represses and suppresses us and disallows us from climbing out of the murky depths of the three-dimensional matrix. Doubt is the killer of the dream. And this is something that I'm learning that I've come to understand, that doubt is really the one thing that kills ascension, that kills frequency elevation or escalation or ascension. The doubt we have in ourselves, in our worth, in our ability, in our value, in our dreams, in what we feel on a cellular level, is the reason why we remain stuck in the lower frequencies. Let me just make that clear. I'm not saying this is something we can help, because honestly, until your soul is ready for you to ascend, you are not ascending. That means you still have work to do in the lower frequencies. You still have learning to achieve in order for that learning to evolve you and allow you to vibrate higher, which is literally rising out of the 3D matrix. Because the higher you vibrate, the lighter you get. And lighter, I mean lighter in both ways, lighter volume-wise and lighter illuminated. Because once you become lighter or enlightened, you float out of by the lack of density in your body, float out of the lower frequencies. It is like a balloon that when there's no air in the balloon, it lies on the ground. It is stuck in the lower frequencies. It is just density. It is nothing else. But when you blow air into the balloon, you're blowing in enlightenment. You're blowing in light. And that light makes it buoyant, and then it rises naturally out of the 3D density into a whole other frequency or density. So this is not accessible for a very good reason, for a grand purpose, while we're in the lower 3D matrix. And oh my God, this is still blowing my own mind. So this perception, so the fact that I'm able to drop doubt, and I just wanted to finish that thought, is because is part of this ascension, because anything that was a tool in the lower frequencies or a barrier in the lower frequencies, and again, these barriers are important. They're meant for us to jump over or to overcome, and that's how we grow and evolve. And I don't have to explain that, I don't think, anymore. That's what the 3D matrix or the construct of the 3D world or dimension is about: learning, growth, and evolution, perception, perspective. And then we start to see, and on and on and on. So because I no longer need doubt, it is no longer woven into this energetic fabric that my body is now made of, this crystalline energy. It is no longer a dense energy that is appropriate for the dense world matrix dimension of the 3D. So because I no longer have this dense body that has literally been transformed or transmuted into this lighter crystalline body, I no longer have the ability to carry the burdens of the three-dimensional life that I lived for 58 years. I no longer have a use for doubt or for insecurity or for a feeling of lack of self-worth. None of that resonates anymore. It has all fallen away, and it's so extraordinary, because in this new dimension, which I am half in and half out, and I'll describe this in a little more in a minute. One foot is still in the 3D, and one is in the I come to understand as the 5D, although I really don't technically know what that is. It is a different dimension, different quality, different frequency, different access, different universe than where I was. I am still, of course, learning to understand what's happening, but I'm still in both places. So I'm so aware that what I used to feel every day as part of the default wiring in this old body was these feelings of doubt and insecurity, and I'm not worthy of anything, and I have to just struggle, and I'm a victim, and all the things that I brought into this world to overcome. The design of my 3D matrix was very specific. And again, and I'll say this over and over again, the way I found out exactly what karma I brought into this world so I can identify it and process and then release it, I found out through the Gene Keys golden path. And this is not an advertisement for them. They don't know who I am. I don't get anything for telling you this. But all I'm telling you is that there is a free chart that outlines your energetic template for this lifetime. And then there is a series of books called The Golden Path that I used one book at a time to learn why I suffered the way I suffered in my life, why I identified as a victim, why I ignored my higher self and my intuition, why I was deeply embedded into a cycle of abuse and acceptance of abuse and manipulation and all the things that I suffered. We attract who we are. That's part of the design of the matrix. So these books, and they're magnificent. They were channeled by the author, Richard Rudd, from his higher self or his better angels or the universe, who knows exactly. He channeled all this work. And this is his purpose and his gift to humanity at a time where we're all meant to get into the express lane and wake the fuck up. So I'm another instrument, and that's all. And there are many, 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 many of us here. But this is what I used to identify specifically what was wrong with me. Why did I behave in this life the way I behaved? Why did I accept trauma and abuse as normal in my life? Why? And all of the whys were answered in this book. Not just, and I just want to make this clear as well, and I'll move on. It's not a broad conceptual understanding of why I might feel the way I do. It is my specific outline based on my date of birth, time of birth, and where I was born. And this has to do with planetary alignments, energetic cycles, and the karma that I chose to bring into this lifetime. That played out over and over and over and over again until I was awakened by my soul with a frying pan to the back of my head and pulled by my ear into this awakening so I could get where I needed to go in this lifetime, so I could be debriefed from where I was and learn who I actually am and why I'm here. And we're all here for a reason. So the Gene Keys Golden Path series of books is what I used and what I recommend for anybody who is at the point in their journey where they're truly tired of repeating the same patterns and getting slapped in the face with the same wet chicken. Sorry, I don't know where that analogy came from. And they're ready to surrender, because that's what it takes. You have to be ready to surrender. And then your soul says, okay, let's go. If you're still fighting it, you're still looking for answers externally, if you're still beating yourself up, if you're still repeating all these patterns, inviting all these same crazy things into your life, and then identifying with how you feel. And you have to understand that people become their burdens. They identify with their burdens. So if you're in the 3D matrix and I walked over to you and said, hey, I'm from the 5D, I want you to come on over. There's plenty of room. Come on. You would say, oh, let's go, let's go. But as soon as you stepped into it, you'd realize that you have to let go of all that you identify as your pain, your victimhood, your sorrow, your depression, your shields, your armor. You can't step in with any of that stuff. And as soon as you realize, oh, I have to drop my pain, who am I without it? And you slowly back away and you step back into the 3D construct where you're comfortable. That's how stark the difference is. And why doubt has no place It doesn't have anywhere to go. It is like a shadow that the light has been shone upon. It just disappears. In this enlightened, and I'll use the term light again, energy, it's a shadow that cannot exist. So because I don't have any doubt or fear or insecurity or feelings of lack of self-worth, I mean, all that's gone. I am purely an instrument. This is my understanding of what I am in this world, this human being, this human vessel, this molecularly structured, atom-laden body is an instrument for my soul to do what she came here to do. I'll say it again. My human body, my human existence is an instrument, a tool for my soul to use to do what she came here to do. And what she has done with me over the last 3 years is cleared away all the old programming, all the three-dimensional programming, so I can be clear to receive this new dimensional energy and this understanding that I am here for her, that we are here as one. And when I say we, I'm referring to the multi-dimensional quality of me, this human being, this soul, my higher self, and all the other versions of my energy that are having experiences in different realms, in different forms, or formlessly. This is who we are. We are energy that is encapsulated into a molecular structure, giving us physical density, and we're having a virtual reality experience. And what's happened to me, what my soul has done with me, is she just cleared away all of the old programming, so I didn't believe anymore that I was a 3D human being, trapped in a matrix with no way out, unaware that I am this ethereal being that is having a learning experience and using me, the human, to do it. So what that has done is allowed me to literally ascend out of the belief systems that kept me trapped in doubt and in the 3D matrix. So because I've been cleared of all that programming, and this is such an easy way to describe all this, it segues me into what I really wanted to talk about today, which is the 3D matrix, and how I see it so clearly now as a program, as a construct of sorts, like the movie The Hunger Games, and I could not remember it the last episode, The Hunger Games, where there is this big circus going on, and all these people are living their roles. Either they're in poverty, looking at the rich people or the rich entities to take care of them, or they are the kings and queens, and they are enjoying the power over the impoverished population. And in this game, Hunger Games is what it's called, there is this festival of games where you are granted freedom from your poverty and your impoverished origin if you can win this game. And this game requires you to be violent and cunning and take no victims. You take no have no mercy. You have to be completely self absorbed and focused in order to win this game. So it's so incredible how well this illustrates this. So it's life or death, and you are struggling every day to get your piece of the pie so you can survive. And that is exactly what the 3D matrix is made for. It is made for us to be pushed and pulled on, for us to be challenged, for us to be pushed to our breaking point, which I was. And that breaking point is when I surrendered and was ushered into, quite literally on a stretcher, into my awakening. So I just want to make that clear that you can decide this with your brain, but your brain has nothing to do with what actually happens. So when you beat yourself up that your brain isn't able to get you the dream you want, that is again that doubt, that brain in control, causing the suppression that will not allow you to ascend. God, I hope this makes sense on the other end of this microphone. This is such a broad concept, but this is what this is what I'm made for. Is taking these broad concepts and then distilling them into language that is easy to understand, and I hope I'm doing an adequate job. So this assimilation or this game or this matrix is a construct on this earthly plane because of the density that's required. You can't do it in outer space because there's no gravity. There's no density. The density doesn't mean anything. It just floats. It has to be grounded. You have to be right where you are. And I'm going to describe this like being in a suit of armor. And imagine yourself with a suit of armor on. You can barely move. You're shielded and covered in armor all over your body. You can see out of your eyes. You can breathe out of your nose and mouth. You can move, but barely. And you are stuck where you are because it's so heavy you can hardly move it. That's what being in a body feels like to an ethereal being. You are forced to look out your eyes. You are forced to be on the ground right where you are, right in the immediate environment. You can't float off above it all and see it from a high scale, from a high vantage point, as we do when we're in our ethereal form or formlessness. And we are forced to deal with what's right in front of us. So we're forced into interactions and relationships and situations and circumstances that challenge us every MFing step of the way. So do you see what I mean by being in a grounded, forced into looking right in front of you, down at your feet and only in your environment? And this is why nobody ever looks up, if you notice. I don't know if you know this, but a good benchmark for somebody who is deeply embedded into the 3D is they never look up, because they're so focused on the ground in front of them, their feet plowing through their life. They don't understand just by the act of looking up, you are stretching that energy upward and thereby challenging the gravitational pull of your body onto the ground. I mean, this is how literal this is. And when you just look up into the sky, you can feel that grip of gravity loosen just a little bit. And this is what helps you start to perceive something outside of what's in front of your nose. And this is the extraordinary part about seeing it all as it is from this new perspective. And I've alluded to this many times, and even way before my awakening, I alluded to this because I've always been wired for this. I didn't come into this world to have this 3D experience only. I came into this world to awaken from it and to completely be cleansed of it. So I've always had this wiring that was kind of dormant in me, that was activated at a time when it was meant for me to begin to look upward and to perceive something outside of my immediate environment. And that was a hardwiring that was dormant, that we all have. Whether it becomes awakened or not is up to the soul. And why looking up at the sky and the tops of the trees has such a profound impact. And I encourage you, if you have an interest or inclination, to do that. And while you're outside, take your shoes off, because you're on Mother Earth, who is literally your mother. She gave birth to you in this form. She is your mother, not your human mother. I love her. I'm taking nothing away from her. She is playing her role in your life. She gave birth to you from her body, but her body was birthed by Mother Earth. All of us are. Every form, every leaf, tree, plant, rock, insect, bird, animal, every form is birthed from Mother Earth. And just like a tree planted into the ground needs nourishment from the soil and the vibration from the earth and all the sister brother trees and every other green floral thing, plus the rain and the sunshine to survive, we are the same. We're just not planted in the earth, but we still need the earth. It's the same exact way. And this is the trick, the sensory trick of the sentient experience of the 3D matrix, is until you're ready to understand our connection to Mother Earth and how she is the all-giving mother. And if we ignore her, we are literally ignoring our own health and wellness and vitality and awareness. That's the trick. That is the illusion of being a sentient being, is we think we're separate from everything else. And that trick is not an accident. It is absolutely necessary for us to have this embedded, grounded experience in order for these demons that we bring in to be challenged and to have these duels and then to slay them and to exercise, our dragons, and then to slay our dragons and exercise our demons, however you want to look at it. It's a battlefield. And if we are too aware that we are not really human, we ruin the experience. And I was told that this is what it has evolved to. That it used to be a time where angels would come to earth and show themselves, so people can be aware of the ethereal nature of life, and then by that association pull themselves out of the 3D matrix. But it didn't work. We just worshiped the angels as a separate entity, and we didn't identify as the angel, which is what we are. So angels used to come to the earth and try to help people wake up, and it didn't work. Ascended beings still come to earth to help people awaken. They're everywhere. These are the people who have these ascended perceptions. They're referred to as avatars. Jesus Christ was an avatar, an ascended being who came to earth willingly to help awaken humanity. And he tried to show humanity not that you just need to take suffering as a mantle, as a full-time job, but to show us that life was eternal by dying and then coming back to life. But all we remember and all we identify with is his suffering, the cross. That's what we have in the churches, is him on the cross, suffering for our sins. And that's what we worship, is suffering. The message was missed. The message was not suffering. The message was the reincarnation, the fact that we are eternal beings. But we missed that because we're so focused in this lower vibrational depth. And we don't understand that we are consciousness. We're just in a zoot suit having an experience. We're in a suit of armor for an expressed purpose to evolve. And it is only when we realize that we begin to perceive everything as it is. We get to see everything as it actually is. So now when I see my old life, I see it as the matrix, a 3D matrix that I lived in for 58 years. And then at age 58, when my awakening started 3 years ago, I was moved into a waiting room of sorts. And I refer to this as a world between worlds, where I was completely rebuilt from the inside out. And I described this process from beginning to end in my podcast episodes and in the articles that I've written. And all of it is encapsulated in the book that I'm writing. I was put in this waiting room where I was wheeled into surgery and literally rebuilt. And then recently, back in April, May, and it's now August 18th, 2024, I was shown how far I'd actually come by this dimensional shift and this graduation of my humanity. And in that graduation, I was given this advanced perspective, which again is the third eye, and I won't go into that again. I described it last time. The third eye opens and you see things as they are. And I can clearly see that I am still physically present in the three-dimensional world that I was in for 58 years. 61, if you count the surgery time. The reconditioning, the rebuilding phase. But I can see it so clearly now as a training ground. And this has brought some new awarenesses. And this may not be a popular thing to talk about, and maybe it's going to cause some anger. And I said out loud this morning when I thought about recording today and talking about this, I said, I'm going to piss some people off here. And then I remembered it's not up to me how what I say is perceived or received. It's just my job to say it. So I'm going to talk about something that is probably going to be maybe unpopular, maybe not, I don't know. But one thing I want to say first is that I have been in this perception of this new energy, of these energies around me that are literally moving me into this new reality. I realize how I look at the world now, not just the 3D matrix, what's all part of the 3D matrix, but how I look at politics. And this is so interesting because we are in a very politically fraught time. And I don't think it's just in the United States where I am. I think it's all over the world. And it has been for the last several years. Here we have Donald Trump, and he is what is known as an agitator in the higher realms. He is, and I won't compare him too cleanly to Adolf Hitler, so excuse me for I don't mean to compare the two, but Adolf Hitler was another agitator. These people are very important in our world. And this is something I didn't understand 3 years ago when I was so enraptured in the political landscape and so insulted by Donald Trump and so insulted by the thought that people didn't see what he was. And I couldn't believe that I was living in a world where people didn't see what was happening. What are you doing? This man is going to destroy democracy. And I was so overwhelmed with this stress over what would happen to the country that I had to stop watching the news. And I know this was part of my awakening, was to disconnect from everything. And that was the first thing. I used to watch the news shows, the political news shows, 2 and 3 at a time every night, and very deeply affected by what I was hearing. And when Donald Trump got elected, I was horrified. and I won't go on because it doesn't matter anymore. But my point is now when I look at the political landscape, and we have an election coming up in November in the United States, and Donald Trump is again vying for election, along with well, I shouldn't say that, along with our Democratic candidate. And I realize that when I look at this situation and when I hear people talking, I don't feel anything anymore. I so clearly see all around the issue now that I have no opinion. If Donald Trump gets elected again, then that's what's meant to happen. He is meant to break apart a constitutional entity that is no longer useful. That's what agitators do. They bring on revolutions. And I'm not saying he's going to be the revolutionary. The revolutionaries are going to be bringing on the revolution. The Me Too movement, oh my God, I'm not going to remember them all. Women's rights, gay rights, equal rights. Those are the revolutionaries, the people who stand together, unified against an agitator. So that's what I meant by that. If he's elected again, then something needs to be brought down. Something needs to be broken apart. And that's what he's doing. And I see so clearly now what that is. So I don't fear his election. I don't fear anything. All I know is that cosmically, whatever's meant to be is emerging. And if he, as an agitator, continues to uprise the population and they revolt, then that is where the change comes in. He is the catalyst. He is the flame on the tinder that lights it all on fire. Or I should say, he's the accelerant. The revolutionaries are the flame that light the tinder on fire and burn down the construct, burn down the institution that no longer works. And how it is rebuilt? Again, another cosmic design that is out of my pay grade to know. But that's how this works. And I have a keen understanding now that I don't have to feel anything for it. I don't feel stress. I don't feel anxiety. I don't feel, oh my God, what if? None of that. It's all gone. I know that whatever is happening is meant to be. And it has a purpose so much bigger than my preferences or my ideal of what democracy should look like. It doesn't matter. It's all playing out in the divine time on the cosmic playground. This is the field, though, that this battle is being carried out. the earthly plane, and all of the universes, or all of the universe and all the galaxies and all the beings are watching. Because what we do here on Mother Earth affects the entire universe and every species of life. We are a hub. We are the training ground, the most effective training ground in the entire universe, Earth. And we are here as participants in these Hunger Games. That's what's going on. Oh my God. This is so amazing. So that's not the part that's going to piss you off, but I want you to see how I see things. And I'm not responsible for how you receive this or if it resonates or not. But this is how I see things now. I don't have an opinion about anything. None of it. It is all going on in the 3D matrix that I am no longer a part of. And I know that sounds effing crazy, but it's true. When I look around this world now, and I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, I see an old program that I used to have a very big part of, that I was an actor in, that I had a role. The people that I had relationships or circumstantial situationships with, the circumstances I was within, the jobs that I had, the acquaintances, all of it. When I walk through this world, and I mean my neighborhood and where I live, it all feels transparent, like it's dissolving, it's disintegrating around me. And I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I left my daughter's house a couple of weeks ago. And if I did, forgive me for saying it again, but I'm gonna expand on it. I left her house and I pulled out onto the main road, and up pulled next to me my ex-husband. And I saw him recently, and I talked about that. I had a meeting with him where I talked to him. I won't go over that again. He pulled up next to me, and he was in the next lane on my left. So I'm in the driver's seat. He's on my left right there, but ahead of me. And I don't know if he saw me or not. I think that he did, but it doesn't matter. I knew that it was him. And the feeling that came over me when I saw him was that I was looking at a ghost, that I felt no connection to him at all. Like he was a program that I was coded for 3 years ago and beyond, that I'm no longer, that coding is gone. My coding is in a whole different program now. And these are the best analogies. Thank you, tech world. So when I see him, it's like a ghost moving around. He's transparent. When I see old relationships, and another thing is, not only are they dissolving from my perception, but I believe I'm dissolving from theirs. And I'll explain what I mean. When I see people and I'm running into a lot of people lately, and I think that's not a mistake. When I'm running into people that I used to know, quote unquote, that I know I'm going to be physically leaving soon when I move out of here into another country. When I see them, they feel like residual energy, and this is nothing against anybody. And I want to make that clear. This is not a negative connotation at all. It is a perception. It is how I'm perceiving everything, and not just the people, but the environment, the places I used to go and enjoy. I can't go out and eat anymore. I can't go out to a restaurant anymore. And I shouldn't say I physically can't. I don't want to. All I want to do is cook for myself. And this is, again, part of this. My desire to eat the food that I prepare, because I know I lovingly prepare it. And I know how important the vibration of the person preparing my food is. If that chef is angry or upset or depressed, that vibration goes into my food. If the food is sourced from a place that is not humane, and I want to go beyond humane and say loving to the animals and the plants as other beings sharing this earth, then that vibration is translated into my body when I eat that food. So as a result of this dimensional shift, I've avoided all food except for what I prepare or my daughter prepares for me. And I bless everything that I eat with my hands that carry this power. And I tell the food and drink, everything that I eat and drink, first of all, I thank Mother Earth for the gift, because that's what it is. It is by the grace of the food and drink that I live life in this form. So I thank the food and drink for the gift of their body. And I cherish and see them and I tell them because they have a molecular structure and they know, they feel my energy, my vibration. That's the love that goes into the food and drink and that goes back into my body. When I walk around, I feel like I'm walking around an old amusement park that I used to enjoy all the rides. I used to eat the hot dogs and the elephant ears and be with my friends and everybody and enjoy this world. But it is all barren and empty and it is translucent now. And when I see the people that I used to know, they look right through me. And this is something that I know and I've been now more and more and more aware of is I said long ago when I left my ex-husband and I finally started to heal, I said, I don't want anyone to see me who doesn't see me. Let me say that again. I don't want anyone to see me who does not see me. And that means to me that I don't want an interaction with anyone who doesn't have pure intentions with me. And my awareness that the majority of the 3D matrix is so embroiled in their own pain, their own self-discovery, or hiding from themselves, stuck in the work of the 3D matrix, that there's no way I could date in the wild again. I can never just go on a dating app and meet someone and trust that they are not controlled by their demons or their dragons, because 99.9% of them are. And appropriately so, because so did I. So was I when I was in that dimensional energy. But now that I'm not anymore, it is almost impossible to find another person who resonates with who I am. And when you don't resonate with this frequency of energy, you don't see me. You don't hear me. You won't listen to my podcast. You won't read my articles. You won't read my book because it does not resonate. And this is interesting to witness even just in this podcast series, which is 2 years old now, is the listenership I had in the beginning when I talked about the catalyst, all my pain, all of the victimhood that I went through, all of the healing that I had to go through, everything, all the negative or the dark parts, the shadow experience that I had an audience that was engaged. But when I started to ascend out of those messages into the ones that I've been what I've been talking about the last, I don't know, year, maybe 6 months even, the resonation has changed. The frequency has changed and I've lost those early listeners. Why? Because the messages no longer resonate with the frequency that they vibrate. And without resonation, nobody hears or sees anything. This is why you look right through the matrix and you don't see that it's a matrix. And why looking up into the sky is really your only opportunity to begin to understand by perception, by literally, by your ability to see upward and not downward, that you start to realize that maybe there's more to this than what's under my feet. And again, there's no mistakes here. There's no wrong turns. You are exactly where you're meant to be on your journey. Please let me make that clear. You're not being tricked. You're not being stuck for any reason other than that's what your soul wants from you. That's what your soul is using you for. And you are a version of your soul. So you're not being used, and I forgive that term. You are an instrument, a tool for your soul to have this earthbound experience. And the entire universe and all the 200 plus species of life out there are watching, like in the stands, watching the Hunger Games. And whoever wins, and what winning and losing is humanity awakening and realizing that they're stuck in a matrix that is forcing them to have negative experiences, that are allowing dark entities to come into their lives and to trick them and to tinker with things. Are we going to awaken from that en masse and see by our gift of perception, of perspective, that's where we were and we're no longer there? Is democracy going to win in the election, or are we going to break it all apart? What's going to happen next? Everybody's watching. We are a world stage. I'm sorry, an intergalactic stage. And what we do here is very important, and it reverberates, vibrates out into the universe and affects everyone and everything. Will we accept alien life as neighbors and invite them in without killing them, murdering all of them out of fear? Will we share technology, and thereby doing so, we relieve this Mother Earth from stripping her resources, because what can be done is it doesn't require her coal or her oil or her soil or her trees. There are other ways to do things that advanced civilizations are well aware of, but they won't share with us because we'll murder them first. We are so fearful of anything outside of ourselves, we will just murder it. We out of fear. And this is what we do to things we don't understand. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the perspective that I'm talking about. Without it, you can't see. So something that might piss you off, and this is something that really kind of made me think about doing this whole episode, is I was looking at my social media this morning, and this doesn't happen by accident. And I'm so appreciative of these synchronicities that I say out loud thank you when they happen, because they're so easy to see. They're everywhere. And just to give you an example, I was sitting with my granddaughter, who's a year and a half old now, and the sweetest little thing. And we were looking at my cell phone because she likes to look at the pictures in my gallery. So we're scrolling through the pictures, and we get to a little video that I shot of her, and she's watching herself in delight do this thing she's doing on the little video. And she normally asks me to play it over and over again. Well, this time she wanted to keep moving, and so we got to another video, and I played the video for her. And then when I went to play it again, it completely shifted. The video completely left my screen, and a video, which is the last one on my phone's memory, and it's deep down it's at the end of my gallery. So if you know your gallery on your phone, whether you have an iPhone or an Android, if you're scrolling, whatever's at the bottom is last, so you don't get to it till you scroll to the bottom. The very, very last thing in my gallery on my phone is a video of my dog Oreo, our dog Oreo. And I've described Oreo as a spirit guide. He's one of my soul tribe, and I call him Oreo, and he is my best friend. He was the very first being or entity during my awakening that got my attention and let me know that it was him, the black dog that was my love of my life when he was alive, was with me as a spirit guide. And so I refer to him as Oreo. I refer to my soul team as Oreo and the Emperor and the higher selves. And I might write a book about them one day. We'll see. But Oreo is one of my primary guides. He is one of my soul tribe. That's why he's my family. And there's a video of him at the very end. And this video of this dog, of my dog Oreo, popped up out of nowhere. So my little granddaughter could watch this video of this little black dog lying on the patio, stretching and yawning and rolling over. It's the sweetest little video of him when he was older. And I cherish it. I keep it on my phone. And she wanted to watch that video over and over and over. And I said out loud to my granddaughter and my daughter and to Oreo, who I know is always with us, I said, thank you, Oreo, for introducing yourself to my granddaughter, to our soul tribe member, because we're all part of the same team, tribe, family. I refer to them as my tribe. My daughter, my granddaughter, Oreo and the Emperor and the higher selves. They are my tribe. They are the team of souls that are guiding me on this journey, and I speak to them every single day. So Oreo jumped up out of nowhere to say hello to my granddaughter. So I told you that story for a reason. I was on my social media this morning, and I was just scroll through briefly. I'm not a big consumer of social media, probably for the same reasons I don't watch much TV at all anymore, and I don't go out much anymore. Anyway, I was watching a message from my twin flame, John, which I get still every day, multiple times a day. And it was a video message. So it was different than most of them that I get are paragraphs of sentences that come in written form in a message. And I read those and I keep those. I have a catalog of those. But recently I've been getting little video clips, like which is just a video in the background and an audio clip of somebody speaking. And so I'm listening to an audio clip, And as soon as it finished, I normally just keep scrolling, or I'm done and I close the phone and I go out. But as soon as the video finished, another one popped right into it. And I'm like, it startled me. I'm like, oh, where did you come from? And I almost swiped it off. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you cared enough to jump into my vision, then I guess I must look at you. So I was watching a gentleman I've never seen before talk about a dream he had a couple of years ago, which of course got my attention because I had a dream 3.5 years ago that was prophetic or predictive. And I talked about that in the last episode. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's something here for me, a message. And so I'm listening and listening, and he's talking about how when you are, oh boy, I don't remember what he was saying because most of it just went right through me. But what he did say that resonated was he was talking about COVID-19 and how people don't understand. And he couldn't find his words. He was saying, and I said that it was a distraction and it's not real. And then I like surprised myself. I'm like, oh my God, that is how I feel about that, isn't it? And I listened for a few more seconds, and then I realized that I picked up the message I was supposed to have, and I turned it off, and I closed my phone, and I sat and talked to my soul tribe, and I said, it is amazing how I feel about COVID-19. How I feel like it is an element of the 3D matrix. It is part of the programming. Just like everything is. The political atmosphere, everything is part of the 3D matrix. So this pandemic, from my perspective, and I'll tell you why I have this perspective, is an element of the 3D matrix. And because it is an element of the 3D matrix, because I'm no longer in the 3D matrix, it does not affect me. And let me explain why. When I was transitioning from the 3D matrix into my awakening, into the waiting room, and then into surgery, I was in the darkest time of my life. I was still working with my ex-husband. I was still living with my ex-husband, even though we were divorced. And I was being emotionally terrorized by him. And that's the only way I can put it. I don't believe that he was aware that he was doing that. I'm not saying he did it maliciously. And I guess I need to stop really doing that because you have to perceive that the way you do. When I was in the 3D matrix, I was trapped in a cycle or a program that I couldn't get out of. And I described my relationship with my ex-husband. That's what it was. So, darkest time of my life, here comes COVID-19 exactly at the same time, literally exactly at the same time. My divorce was in December of 2020, 12/22/2020, which of course the number was so important. My ex-husband didn't move out of my house until the end of June 2021. And COVID hit in 2020. And this was really the beginning of the worst, darkest time of my life. COVID was there. And I know it was no accident because COVID-19 caused us to isolate. And I was finally, after he moved out of my house 6 months later, alone. And I was shut in quite literally by COVID-19. And that is when my awakening started. And I was isolated by no mistake from every other human being on earth for that expressed purpose. You know, you'd hear about people who go out into the woods or onto a mountaintop for a year in order to have their awakening. This is how it was arranged for me. So I am deathly afraid of COVID-19. And I talked about how I suffered a tick from that, which was a fear of germs that I had to overcome, which I have since overcome beautifully. So anyway, during COVID-19, I was in the darkest time of my life and I was full of fear. And I wore 2 masks and I didn't go anywhere and I wouldn't let anybody near me. And it was horrible for me. I was in a horrible state of energy then. And what happened was in all of my effort to avoid it, I never got sick, but I realized that one day my toes were purple and I had blisters on my toes. And I'm like, what the frig is this? And I looked it up, and it was an after effect of the COVID-19 virus, that some people would experience a darkening color of the feet, and actually my hands too. And I had blisters on my toes. And the beautiful part about the way the universe or my soul team did this for me was I didn't get sick. I had no symptoms at all. I felt the symptomatic energy of my ascension, which I confused for a while with COVID, but it wasn't COVID. And the reason I know this is because when I looked at what purple toes was, it was after the virus was already in your body. It was an after effect or a side effect of the virus. So because it's a side effect, that meant I already had it and it was gone. And because I had it already and it was gone, I was able to feel relieved. Okay, I had COVID. It didn't kill me. All these people were dying. I was scared to death. Plus, on top of the trauma I was experiencing with my ex-husband, the divorce, you know what I'm saying? It was incredibly traumatic. So I have these purple toes, and then I'm like, okay, well, I didn't get sick. Well, I guess I had it. I guess I'm okay. And I still tried to avoid it. I wore the masks for a long time. And then it came to a point, and this was about a year ago, I think, I can't remember exactly, where I just dropped it all. And I realized, and my daughter helped me a lot with this because she was living her life without any fear. And my daughter does not live in the 3D matrix. My daughter is on a different frequency as well. I don't know which one, but she was born after 1980. She is what's known as an indigo child. She is an advanced being who came into this form for the same reason I did, to change things, to awaken people. But beyond what I'm doing, which I believe is I am helping people awaken, she is actually here to change things. And her daughter, my granddaughter, is referred to as a golden child, who is more advanced than even her mother, who does not need to awaken anyone. She's here on business. She is going to knock this down and rebuild it. She is a manifester energy. I'm a projector energy. My daughter is a generator energy. And if you know anything about human design, and this is another thing that I will encourage you to look for, it's a free chart on jovianarchive.com, and I'll put the link wherever there's a description. Do your energetic chart. It's free. It tells you what kind of energy you are. And knowing that I was a projector energy helped me understand my blueprint for my life. And then the Golden Path series, the Gene Keys, helped me put it all into context. So anyway, they're here for their purposes. I'm here for mine. I don't believe that my daughter and her daughter are in the 3D matrix. Therefore, they're not affected by COVID either. And all of the people who are here, who are not vibrating in the lowest density, are also not affected by it. And this, I believe, is why so many people died or became critically ill. Many did recover, but so many were not affected at all. Think about that. Why? Is it what they're eating? Is it what they believe? Is it what they think? Well, yeah, it is what they believe and what they think, because they vibrate based on what they think and believe. So I believe, as I see from this grand vista, what is beneath me, or below me, I shouldn't say, I don't want to give it a level, what is outside of me now, is that COVID-19, the pandemic, is an element of the 3D matrix, only meant to affect those having the 3D experience. As an agitator, as a learning device, you have to understand, when people die, they leave a legacy. And that legacy is either learning or appreciation. Whatever it is, it ends up at appreciation. You have to go through the process. So I believe also that this was the time for many souls to leave Earth. And I believe that many souls who are here for a purpose, and maybe who have done the work they came here to do, chose that time to leave because it was easy to go. Here's a pandemic. I can get sick and die. It's an easy way for my body to die and for me to leave. Another thing is people leave because they can't handle the human experience, and especially in such stressful circumstances. And they may say, I'm out of here. That you have to realize they are souls. They are beings of light. They don't have to be here. They choose to be here. So they may say, I'm checking out, I'm out of here. So I believe this was a time frame during this mass death for these souls to go. That they're like, well, I'll just contract it and I'll die. That's how I'm getting out of here. I believe that because I'm no longer vibrating at that density, and I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out when COVID came, that I did contract it, but it didn't affect me except for the after effect, which showed me that I was okay and helped me really let go of the fear, which I eventually was able to do. Even though I had an embedded fear of germs because of it, I was also able to let that go as well, which I no longer suffer at all from it. Completely. And I see so clearly now that everything that we believe, fear, is part of this construct of this complex, this training ground of the 3D matrix. And that if you are no longer, which I believe, no longer in the matrix, I still physically live on this earth, but my reality is completely different. And I'm no longer affected by my old reality at all, because I'm not energetically dense enough to even feel it anymore. I remember, but I believe that will eventually fall away as well. But the residual impact, the embedded energy, that energy is now gone. There's nothing for it to embed into. There's nothing but light, and the density is gone. So just like that balloon, without the air, it lies on the ground. I am that balloon now filled with air. I am nowhere near the ground. So I believe, and I know this may not be popular, that COVID-19 was only meant to affect those who it was meant to affect. And that's why there were so many deaths. And that's why there were so many people who were not affected at all. Because the Matrix, the Hunger Games, the dome, the assimilation, the game is an experience that includes all of these extenuating circumstances. And that is one of them. And that if you believe that you are, oh God, so insane. This is what I'm talking about. Belief. It is what you believe that really dictates your experience. If you believe in fear, if you invest in fear, if you invest in self-doubt, if you invest in all of the lower vibrational feelings that we are unfortunately wired to invest in, this is our reality. And darkness is a part of that, a very big part of that. And now that I'm standing outside of it, I can see it all like a video game that I'm no longer participating in, that I'm standing outside of the machine now, and I'm looking at it through a screen. And I can see all the people doing what they do. I can see the fights over the government and the presidency. I can see the storming of the Capitol. I can see the hate between races. I can see the hate between economy levels. I can see the fighting between countries, all as part of this matrix experience. Because we're in pain, we project that pain outward, and that's what the result is. And the galaxies and the universe are looking to see, is it time yet for us to realize that by projecting our pain outward, we are causing the chaos that we fear, that we are literally manifesting from our fear, the fear that we fear. We're doing it as a community. And when we can see that we're doing that, and we stop doing that, projecting our pain outward, that's when we go inward and we look at our own inner landscape. And when we go inward, we take all that energy that we project outward away from the communal mind, and we pull it back into our bodies to be processed and released. And then we become enlightened, and now we're a beam of light instead of a dark energy, feeding the dark energy. That's what happens. So when I went inward 3 years ago, I pulled all of my shadow out of the world. So I was no longer contributing to the shadow big head that of all of humanity. I was turning it inward, and I processed it and released it. And now I am a beacon of light. Light and light, enlightened literally, physically, and spiritually. That is the threshold. It is love. It is acceptance. It is looking at ourselves for the answers. It's only within us. And it sounds so cheesy and corny, and I'm sorry, but it's so true. It is turning a negative thought into a positive one that changes the frequency of that thought. Period. So if you're thinking more positive thoughts than negative, then your frequency is starting to change. And when you flip that from being a default negative to a default positive, you are now ascending. That's how it works. And I'm not saying you're going to become an awakened being in this lifetime, because that's up to your soul. But if you're tired of fighting, if you're tired of experiencing the 3D matrix, and you're still listening to me after an hour and 16 minutes and 26 seconds, there's a very good chance that you're meant to get something here. It is a game. We are participating willingly. And we are instruments of our souls. And I have come to accept this with such gratitude, because honestly, it has allowed me to let go of everything that I once cared about. Everything. I have no opinion about my wealth, about my success, about even my love life. I know I'm meant to experience true love. That is what my soul has in store for us on this journey. And I know that when I moved into this new reality physically, and I believe this opportunity to speak at this convention is the first step, the first contact to that new reality. I'm going to be in a completely different reality when I move physically from this place. And now I understand more than ever why I can't stay here in this home that I love, in this neighborhood that I appreciate, in this state, in this country. I am meant to go somewhere, an island in the middle of nowhere, because that's where my soul wants to spend her graduation. I don't have to be in the mix anymore. I don't have to be in the middle of the chaos. I don't have to witness it or hear it or feel it anymore. I'm done. It doesn't have any value anymore. The lessons are all learned. I graduated out of the matrix, so now I have to move physically out of it. That's why I have to leave. And I didn't know that. I didn't really understand that before. But I've been being told that I'm going to move out of the country for 3 years now, when the time is right. And I believe that time is coming. My heart tells me within a year. I don't know anything for sure, but that's what my body tells me, that I'm not going to be here that much longer. I got my oil change the other day, and the gentleman asked me if I wanted to buy another 3 oil change package. And I said, oh yeah. And then I'm like, wait, I don't know if I'm going to be here. And he said, why? And another gentleman said, well, you can go to any dealership in the country. And I said, well, I don't think I'm going to be in the country in a year. And I laughed at myself. It was the first time I said it out loud. I'm like, holy crap, I don't think I'm going to be here another year. So I only bought the 1 oil change. But that's how powerful this feeling is, that my reality is changing and very quickly. And that what I'm leaving behind is literally disintegrating. It is becoming transparent. Everything. And I believe that to that code or that program, I am also not seen anymore. People who know me look right through me. It is amazing to witness as an observational party, as it's somebody observing myself having this experience. It is just incredible. So I just wanted to talk to you about that, because it was such an overwhelming feeling. And the COVID aspect of it, honestly, I was very timid about. But I believe I was encouraged to talk about it today by that message when that gentleman mentioned COVID-19 and could not find his words to say what he wanted to say. And I said, was a distraction? And I went, oh boy, oh my gosh. It was in what I feel, and you don't have to believe me. I don't care what anybody thinks. And I don't mean I don't care, like screw you. I mean, it's not up to me what you think or feel or what resonates. And that's really all that matters. Does this vibration match the vibration coming from you? Then you'll hear it. If it doesn't, you won't hear it. It won't matter. It'll go right through you and gone. It won't stick. And that's what I've learned to trust. That if it resonates, it stays with me. I don't have to worry about anything else. And another thing is this inspiration, and I have to say this, and I'll close with this, is I was told throughout this awakening that I only needed to work when I was inspired. Eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired, work when you're inspired. And I had such a hard time with the inspired part because my brain wanted to be productive. Okay, well, you're retired. You got all day. Go do something. And really, honestly, most of the time, all I could do was rest because I was always so exhausted from the ascension symptoms. And because I was forced to rest, I was really forced into kind of an understanding that I'm here to rest, that this waiting room and this surgical experience, this 3-year period between worlds, is for me to rest. And I finally learned what it feels like to be inspired. And it doesn't come from my brain. My brain only cares about being productive. My brain only cares about conducting the 3D experience, the physical experience. And she does a beautiful job. I'm, again, not criticizing the brain. I'm just have her in perspective now. Inspiration comes from my body. It comes up through my solar plexus, through my intuitive channel. It floods my body and then it enters my brain. It cycles through my brain and into my vocal cords. And that's why I'm meant to speak. If I were a singer, that's why I was meant to sing. If I am an artist, that would cycle into my hands and I would paint. It cycles into my fingers when I write. Whatever your art form is, whatever your creative expression is how your inspiration speaks to you. And I just want to encourage you, if you are creative or not, if you incline to be creative and you're not, that inspiration comes from your body. And it has taught me that I can completely relax and I don't ever have to think my way through anything, that all I do is feel. I feel in my body, what is my body telling me? And this I use for making decisions. This is what I use to make the decision to go to this conference that I would have never done before. I knew in my body that I was meant to go, that it was my job to get myself to that location. That's what I was being nudged to do, and that's what I did. I followed through. That's what I'm talking about. It's a feeling. It's not a thought. It ends up a thought because it has to be processed through the brain. But understanding the difference or the origin is really the key. And being cleared, of course, of all the emotional and program, the cleared of the programs that I was once was my software. I now can clearly feel that without doubt. It's just extraordinary. So even today, I wasn't going to record today. I don't have anything to say. And if I don't feel inspired, I'm not going to record. And that changed in an instant when I saw that message and I'm like, oh, hold on. Oh, and I sat there and I said, oh, okay. No, I said, okay, I'm going to record today. And of course it's a Sunday when I normally record, there's nothing going on. It's a rainy day. Of course it's a perfect environment for me to do it. And this is my soul team or the universe, however you want to describe your support, orchestrating my creativity, my expression, my creative expression, which is my podcast episodes and my writing of my knowing, of my experience, of my perspective, of my wisdom, which is not mine. It channels through me as it does all of us. We just have to clear the deck so it can get on board. I threw another analogy in there, sorry. Different analogy. But anyway, I think I'm going to stop there. I feel complete. I hope that this was interesting to you, if nothing else. And I very much, as always, appreciate your attendance and your interest. So thank you and have the most amazing day.